And good morning, everyone. Today is the 28th of August, 2018. I'm Roy Potter. Welcome to the Potter Expositor. I guess the first order of business today is to let you know that, as I said I was going to, I was on the Kev Baker show. He runs his show out of Scotland. Very interesting. I've been interviewed for many years by a lot of international news organizations. And it had been a while since I had actually talked to somebody in the news media in the UK. So that was kind of fun. I think it was about a 2-hour show, maybe not quite that. But I was mistaken that it would be live on YouTube. It's only live on Truth Frequency Radio. And so I put the links in the box yesterday, the description box, when I announced it. But he will be uploading the show to his YouTube channel at some point in time, probably today. I don't mean to rush him. I'm certainly not in any rush. But in case you wanted to know, it will be on YouTube, and I will put out another video on YouTube and send it over to Twitter when he gets that video up with the link to that video, so that if you weren't able to listen to the show, you can. If you want to listen to the show, you will be able to. Not a big deal, but I think Kev Baker, he's really interesting the way he runs his show. I don't know if he didn't give any indication he was a former radio personality or anything like that, but he's very smooth. We had a few problems where I walked over him when he was talking because, of course, there's a lag time in the phone, plus the cell phone towers and all of that, so I felt kind of bad about that. But he's very smooth, he's very professional, he knows where to go with the conversation, and the way he just presents the show overall was very good, and I just want to thank Kev for having me on there. It was a treat, actually. I got a chance to unload some of my feelings on some things, and even though I do it here, it's nice to do it in a venue like that. So again, thanks. I'll have that information on the Kev Baker show. When it gets on YouTube, I'll give you the link for it. Okay, well, this is an interesting day, as they all are. And if you've noticed, first of all, I'll let you know that the chat is on, okay? So you all can start... I know. I got to address this. Little Sprout 43, Baruch says McCain is not really dead. All right. I'm really probably done with the entire Q thing. I'm getting really, really disgusted with. I try to have respect for people, and I was hoping that things would turn around there and people would start telling the truth, but I guess it's just not going to happen. All right, getting back on subject matter. Sorry I looked at the chat too soon. I'm calling this When Their Cup of Iniquity is Full. I know, that's from the Bible, I know that. But I wanted to title it that because, since January 20th, I think that was the day that President Trump took the oath of office, I have been saying, Trump, you got to act. You can't think these people are going to go away. They're going to get worse. People are going to get hurt. People are going to get killed. Reputations are going to be ruined. People are going to be thrown in jail on false charges or charges that are really inappropriate or trumped up. No pun intended. I warned him that they'd go after his family and certainly his supporters. As a matter of fact, I'm a little disappointed that he hasn't been out there to help his supporters that much. I mean, yeah, he goes to rallies and things like that, but he hasn't really stood up for his supporters on this censorship thing or the fact that Antifa was beating up a lot of these people. And finally, when the conservatives, the Trump supporters, defended themselves and fought back, of course, they became the bad guy. That's always the way it is. The schoolyard bully brawl, right? The bully does the first hit, and teachers and they only see the kids defending themselves. But this is all a war. I've said it from the start. This is not politics. This is a war. We have a civil war going on in our country, and it's going to reach a violent level. And I don't think that it can be avoided at this point. And I'm very sad about that. I wish we could have run it off at the pass and stopped it. But the leftist Marxists that have been in control of our institutions for so long are hell-bent on this. So I just had to bring that up because of some things that are happening. I mentioned on the Kev Baker show yesterday, Trump has been holding back, and there have been all kinds of excuses, politically, legally, and all that, why he can't fire Sessions, and all that business, why he can't get somebody in there to really clean house in the executive branch, principally the DOJ, including the FBI and the the other agencies, the IC in particular, the intelligence community. I realized the Leviathan that he was facing there, and he probably had to tread lightly, but I knew that eventually it was going to get very bad. And now, of course, they're into his private business affairs and all these things. Mueller is a traitor. I'm sorry. I know that people like Ginger McQueen go, "Why you're using the word treason for something that doesn't count." He's working for, it might be an offshore corporation, whatever, but he's following the orders of people that have ties to our enemies, our real enemies. And I will call him a traitor. He is not helping Trump. He is a lying son of a bitch, just like so much of the FBI. But let me say, I have been impressed that we have a few more FBI agents coming forward. I just found out about another one the other day. And so a few are trickling out, okay? And that's really important. It's not enough. I don't know that it's enough to turn the tide. The people in Congress are too chicken shit, frankly, to really do much about it, despite what Graham and Grassley have finally said that, okay, it's according to Jones, and according to some Alex Jones, and according to some news information sources I've seen where, okay, they're saying it is time for Trump to fire Jeff Sessions and just accept the political fallout and let's go forward. I think with the evidence now, that what we're looking at is that I don't know if Mueller will actually do it. This might be a ploy by Mueller to try to get Trump to jump the gun. Frankly, I don't think he can jump the gun. I think he should seize the initiative and go after these bastards. I'm not very happy about it, am I? In other words, Mueller, the information now is that Mueller is going to indict Trump's son, Don Jr., in a process thing, as Alex Jones said yesterday, tomato. And apparently going after Roger Stone for similar things. Now, like I said, this could be a feint, F-E-I-N-T. It's a military situation where you pretend to do something you're not to get the enemy to do something you want them to do. And that kind of military tactics are used in politics and in police investigations and all sorts of things. So I'm not sure that this is actually going to happen. But if I were Trump, I wouldn't wait to find out. Of course, I'm not Trump. So why hasn't Trump actually taken the gloves off? Is he having investigations done behind the scenes? Yes, but not by Jeff Sessions. All you people that say that, no, and not by Huber either. I'm in this neck of the woods. I know about these people. But it is possible, as we've said before, that somebody in the Treasury Department, somebody in the DHS, very likely the U.S. Marshal Service are looking into these things. But without the DOJ to prosecute, I don't know how it would go forward. You got to get rid of Jeff Sessions first, but you can get all the evidence together. So that might be happening. I won't say that it isn't. But I would also have a tendency to believe that, and this is why I called this video when their cup of iniquity is full. Trump might just be letting them go ahead. It could be because he's a Christian, and people will disagree with me on his belief system, but that's really immaterial. It's a tactic as well. That he might be allowing them to show themselves completely. Now there's an evaluation going around on the web. Some of it's attributed to Anons. I'm not really legally qualified to say this. I really don't know, but the supposition is that Obama secretly issued immunities to a lot of people in his administration and elsewhere who were involved in the initial attempts at this coup under the pretense of a counterintelligence operation against Trump and his supporters. Don't forget that they're after us as well. This theory suggests that this was issued secretly to cover all these people, and that now Trump had to go back and formulate a plan. And I'm not saying it's the plan, okay, because obviously Q didn't know anything about this. I don't even want to talk about that thing. Ugh. But it could be that the DHS, the Department of the Treasury, the U.S. Marshal Service, and probably some aspects of military intelligence, not to prosecute these people under a tribunal, I'm not saying that, but investigations, very well could be amassing evidence and allowing them to do all this. It's very possible. And to allow it to get to such a crescendo, not to convince the American people that, this is the necessary thing to do, because the American people are still asleep. I'm sorry. There are MAGA people, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, who I really question their integrity and I question their real motives. I'm not going to name any names, but I'm getting pretty disgusted with what I'm seeing. But it doesn't surprise me. There are idiots on both sides of the aisles, and there are deceivers on both sides of the aisles, and there are people that have illusions of grandeur of their importance, and they do a lot of damage. And we'll get there in a few minutes. But I am thinking that Trump is following what the scripture says, that God allows the evil people to fill their cup of iniquity all the way to the top so that it's overflowing, so that there is no doubt as to the justification of acting against them. How the American people will accept that, I think Trump supporters don't need to be convinced. The leftist Marxists, the DNC, the people that support the overthrow of a duly elected president, President Trump, there's nothing you're going to do to convince them that you're a good guy or that you have the right to take these leftist Marxists out, these infiltrators in the government. There's nothing you're going to do to change their minds. You can't do it. Their cup of iniquity is so full. They're so evil. They've cast reason and logic to the dung heap, and they don't care. That's where they want it, because that's supposed to be the end result. So I think that they've more than reached that point where their cup of iniquity is overflowing, with one exception. They could start a very violent civil war. They could. That's still on the table. Or take Trump out, which would also lead, I think, to a civil war. Not so much by the conservatives, the Trump supporters rising up, but because it would give the leftist Marxists, the Antifas, etc., courage to go forward and start attacking Trump supporters, conservatives, constitutionalists, etc. And then we would be forced to defend ourselves, which of course will not be permitted, by the powers that be. Matt Bracken has talked about this scenario quite a bit. If you know who Matt Bracken is, I've mentioned him many, many times. I have a lot of respect for him, and he is a former Navy SEAL, and he knows his business. Anyway, so it might be that we finally reached that point where Trump believes he can act, but I really don't know. I don't want to jump the gun here. Alex Jones yesterday or over the weekend, I guess, said that yes, Trump has finally realized that he has to do something, and he's going to fire Sessions and everybody in the DOJ 4 levels deep. Well, as I mentioned on the Kev Baker show yesterday, about a month or a half or 2 months ago, Jones also said that Trump was not planning on running in 2020, that he had decided against it, which was hogwash. And I don't know why Jones ran with that. I don't know if he was told to as a diversion. I don't know, but it was hogwash. And I checked with a Republican insider that I know, and he said, no, there's no way that's happening. So I don't know whether this is true now or not, because there's so much crap out there. Everybody's throwing all this dung around that, it's hard to tell what's really happening. So what we got to do is we just have to be prepared for either scenario. And I've been saying that for a long time. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. Staying out of the way means, don't get involved in going after these groups that are roaming the streets and stuff like that. Hunker down, get your neighborhood protected, that kind of thing, because it's not going to do you any good to go out there like these militias think they're going to do and take on, the government-sponsored leftist Marxists. You say, what government? Well, the DOD is still a problem. The DOD is still a very, very big problem. It's not 100% behind Trump. I don't care what anybody tells you. There are probably more there that are than other parts of the government. But it's a dangerous situation right now, very, very much so. So at any rate, that was a long introduction to tell you why I named this what I did. I am concerned that if it's true that Don Jr. and Roger Stone are indicted this week or next week, there is no way Trump can fail to act, and regardless of the political consequences. Because if they go after people like that, not only he and Melania and Ivanka and Barron and the rest of his family, but all of us who supported him will be the next target. I guarantee it. Look at how the Silicon Valley people are censoring people. Now that's backing off a little bit at this point because Trump's been warning them. I understand David Seaman, for instance, had his Twitter account kind of unlocked to the point where he's now seeing his tweets go out and he's not being shadow banned as much. But don't kid yourself. They're not done yet. They want to influence the election, by not allowing us to talk to each other and to give our point of view. The war is on, ladies and gentlemen. I don't see any way of getting out of it at this point. I really don't. So that's not good news, but you're going to have to get ready for what's coming. That's all I can tell you, okay? If you've been laughing at people that store food, commodities, etc. like that because, FEMA can take care of us, well, you're going to find out that FEMA is only going to take care of those who go register themselves with the leftist Marxists. Okay? Better watch your butt because that's what's coming. Okay. Talking about this censorship thing, Trump has been calling out Google and saying that he's ready to act against them. Well, man, it's way past time. But he is going to have to do it. But then your question is, well, how's he going to do it without Jeff Sessions? So Jeff Sessions has to go because I don't see any other way around it. I really think that Craig Sawyer and I kind of hit this on the head about 6 months ago where we said that Trump has to use Article 2, Section 2, declare a state of emergency, not total martial law, it's not like that. Fill these departments and not so much the cabinet members, but of course the AG is a cabinet member, but to get people in there that will do what he tells them to do. He's got to take command of the executive branch and kick ass. He has to. Like I say, they might be trying to get him to jump the gun on this, but frankly, I don't think that there is any jumping the gun anymore. We've entered a very dangerous time. We have seen, apparently, I talked about this major Admiral McCraven the other day, and then I see in his actions coming against Trump as being a very dangerous sign because he is still subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And what he has been doing could subject him to courts-martial even though he's retired and sent to Leavenworth for his attacks on Trump. Why is he doing this? Because he feels like it's safe. He knows that there's something going on behind the scenes that he thinks he's going to get something in the end. That's the reason. However, we also have people like Clapper and Hayden coming out and saying to people like Brennan, hey, slow down on this impeachment stuff. We really don't want to go there. Why? Be careful. These people are snakes. They're looking out for number one, and they could also be covering for another operation. Like I said, a reconnaissance and force type thing. These guys are military. They know what they're doing. I wish Trump had some, he had all those people with him in October of last year when he gave that little thing about the storm was coming, this is the calm before the storm, all that business. I hope that we're all good people in there, but I don't know. I'm not privy to that. But we're in difficulty. Trust the plan. Well, Unirock's been doing a great job showing what the plan is. It comes from a New World Order Luciferian source called Lucis. It was in the 666 building there on Fifth Avenue that Jared Kushner owns or did own. I guess he still does. I'm not pointing the fingers at Kushner necessarily, but the point is these things exist. The idea of the Great Awakening, all that, I use that too, but when I use it, it really is in a different sense. It's in the New Testament sense and the Old Testament sense where it says the Lord will write his law upon our hearts and minds. It's not some ethereal, ray coming from the center of the galaxy, that kind of thing. But at any rate, there are some really dangerous things going on out there, and some of the people that are pushing it, I was hoping that it was innocent, but I'm beginning to think otherwise now that maybe it's not. Again, I'm not going to name any names, but they're YouTubers that you would know. Okay, so if Trump is ready to act against the deep state, it's going to have to be brutal. It's going to have to be absolutely brutal. I am worried about these false and erroneous reports, like the one I mentioned a few minutes ago where Jones said that Trump wasn't going to run in 2020, and that was absolutely wrong. So where is the source for this information? Donald Trump has said that he's going to have to step into this whole Mueller thing and get these documents unclassified and all that stuff. But those will be declaring war on the deep state. They'll know what's happening, and so it's going to be a reaction by them that's not going to be good. And unfortunately, they still control an awful lot. So you guys got to get yourselves ready for this, just in case. I've been talking about it for a long time. It's better to be ready, a year too early than a minute too late. So don't laugh it off because it hasn't happened yet. But there are too many caveats with all these things that Trump talks about. There are always too many caveats. I might have to get involved. This, that, if this happens. I just don't know at this point. Do I think Trump's for real? Yeah, I still do. I think he fooled the powers that be, the Luciferians, the people like Clinton, the Rothschilds. I think he fooled them on what kind of person he was, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And actually, when I look at his life, other than a few of his financial deals that I know a little bit about because I had friends in contracting who knew other contractors that didn't get paid for work they did under some little stupid thing that they didn't do, and they canceled the whole contract. However it worked. I think personally he's been a good guy. People say, well, look, he loves beautiful women. I'm going to tell you something, okay? There's nothing wrong with beautiful women, and I'm getting sick and tired of beautiful women being attacked for being that. And there's nothing wrong with men liking beautiful women. There's a thing called a golden ratio. And it's in us. It's in our DNA. And if you don't know what it is, go look it up. I'm going to be real blunt here. And I've talked about it before. There's nothing wrong with telling a beautiful woman that she is such, or a man being attracted to her, and them taking care of business, doing the deed, so to speak. Yeah, there's marriage. Yeah, there's responsibility and all that. But this hogwash of this legal marriage and the ridiculous Christian idea of what marriage is really, I'm going way out here, but I'm just getting tired of the accusations on people. Just because you believe something doesn't mean somebody else is required to follow your mores and your values. And that's what the United States was supposed to be about. Oh, we'll do it for the gays, won't we? We'll do it for those people. The transgenders, I know there are people on the conservative side that don't want to support that. But the point is, we're willing to look the other way on that, partially because we can't do anything about it, right? Well, you really can't do anything about what's going on in Trump's bedroom either. Leave the guy alone. And I know but even some conservatives say, oh, he's immoral. Well, you don't even know what morality is. You have no concept of it. Yeah, I'm on one to everybody today because I'm really tired of what's happening amongst the conservative movement. I'm going to bring some of that up today without naming names. So at any rate, I think Trump did fool him. I think they helped him get in, or when they realized that that it was too late to turn it around, he took control of it. Maybe so. I hope so. I hope he's not an angel of darkness posing as an angel of light. I hope he isn't. The fruit's on the ground, as I said yesterday to Kev Baker and other people. I'm not really comfortable with his rhetoric compared to what's happening on the ground, and I've talked about that for a long time. But he's all we've got to work with right now, and I'm hoping that it turns out okay. But a war is on the horizon, absolutely, of one type or another, and it's not going to be pretty. Okay. Interesting thing came up about the non-disclosure agreement between Trump and and Stormy Daniels. Apparently, Trump didn't sign it. Does that make it null and void? Well, contract law does require it to be signed, but if you and I'm not a lawyer again, but it would seem I don't know how long this NDAA has supposedly been active, but it would seem to me that after a period of time, it would take on legal status as a contract based upon the actions of the parties involved. A lawyer out there can answer that question, but I don't see this as being a major problem. I don't. At the most, Stormy Daniels will keep jacking her jaws, Must have been fun, right? Must have been fun. I think there is a limit, is what I'm saying. I don't know how far it'll go. And that brings up the other situation with well, I don't want to get into that later. Let me bring up the situation with Russia. Russia is now marshaling forces again because they have intelligence information that there is another false flag chemical attack coming in Syria. I have no doubt. The criminals in our IC and in London and in New York want the world on fire. And a lot of people go into the military and they want to serve their country. Okay, fine, but everybody goes in with the idea that they're going to get through it, and they're going to be their girlfriends are going to be proud of them, and they're going to have glory and honor. I tell you what, go look at some of the pictures from World War II, or from the Korean War, or even Vietnam. Go look at those pictures of the dead Americans and ask yourself if you want that for you or your girlfriend, your daughter, your wife. For glory, remember, this is for the bankers. It has nothing to do with freedom. Even World War II had some major problems. Not that we weren't forced into it, because we were. But the real enemies are in New York, Washington, D.C., and London. And Beijing, actually, at this point. There's a scripture, and it says that, men's hearts will turn cold, that they will not even give respect to the fruit of the womb. Yeah, boy, isn't that the truth. So anyway, yeah, they could be trying to hit Trump on the other side now with a false flag in Syria. He better not take the bait this time. He better not take the bait. He's got to stand up to these creeps in the IC. And I'll say it again, the mainstream media, which is constantly giving all of us trouble. They want their, freedom of the press, but they don't want anybody else to have it, right? Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's called propaganda, and that's called, military action, taking control of the information system, the communications. The MSM is the IC, is the intelligence community, the social networks, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. They're all run by the intelligence community through the Silicon Valley folks. And Trump just has to act on it. He just has to. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. Damn, I don't know how he's going to do it, but there isn't any alternative. It has to be done. McCain. The old saying, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. I'll just say that McCain was my nemesis for years. They finally are talking about how he dumped his first wife, who was hurt in a car accident and disfigured, and he dumped her and went after his current wife, And there are other things about him. So I'll just leave it at that. No, I'm not mourning McCain and the other things that he did. I don't feel sorry for his family. They allowed him to do these things without trying to hold him back. A good woman is going to say, hey, husband, think about what you're doing here. I don't think any of that happened. And now they want, well, anyway, like I said, if you can't say anything good, don't say anything at all, so I'll shut up. No, I'm not going to. I think Trump handled the McCain thing absolutely right, and he probably gave him too much credit. Just leave it there. Everybody got upset many years ago about South African apartheid. Some of you were probably not around in those days, but that was the idea, of course, that blacks couldn't, do anything. They couldn't own property. They couldn't work. They were kind of like second-class citizens, whatever. And then the big revolution, Civil War there happened, and everybody talks about how great Mandela is. Yeah. But now nobody's talking about the reverse prejudice, the reverse discrimination, the reverse persecution that's going on in South Africa against the whites, and it's not just keeping them from their jobs, etc., or even just taking their land from them. They're actually killing them. And despite what the president of South Africa is saying, we talked to Baruch, who's a member, Paul Ferber, who is a citizen of South Africa, and he talked about how serious it is. We've also seen some other Afrikaners, South African whites, come up and say, talk about their experiences. So where's the concern about the white genocide? And I've told you this is going to go all the way from South Africa through Western Europe and even into the United States. It is. So where are all the cries about that? That should tell you something. There are only two places that are doing anything about it at all. Putin in Russia, and now Trump is tweeting about it and has told Pompeo he needs to look into it. I don't know where that's going to go. The United States, like I said on the Kev Baker show, people that come here that don't want to assimilate into our culture can't demand that we follow their culture that they came from. They can have their little pockets, the Italian sector of the city, or the that kind of thing, whatever, based upon race, religion, creed, whatever. You want to have your little communities. There's nothing wrong with that. But the demand that our system, our culture needs to bow to foreign cultures that are invading us should tell you that it's an invasion. They're not coming here because they want to be part of the American experience. They want to fundamentally transform us, and it's not good. I see Laura Loomer talking about that a lot, and she's absolutely right. She's a little mistaken about a couple of the situations there, but I won't get into that today. But she's doing a pretty good job on making people aware of this. I don't know that the right people are listening, but Laura Loomer's got it right. And that brings up Las Vegas. Shepard Ambulance, Laura Loomer, Jake Morphonios, however you feel about their particular political views, they investigated, as well as some other people have investigated the Las Vegas shooting, down to the nitty-gritty. And the fact of the matter is the FBI has lied and has covered up this stuff. Okay? I might as well go here now, because this is what got me on this one. Better take a drink of this first. No, this is just coffee. There's no juice in this, okay, if you know what I mean. There is a tendency for conservatives, as I said on Kev Baker yesterday, not to unite, to constantly be arguing with each other because they're not under the same type of rules that the dark side is under. The dark side is under retribution. You don't go along with them, and they take your job, they demote you, they ostracize you, they even kill you. And you know that when you go in with them. On the conservative side, we're open. But it's our greatest weakness because we don't have a tendency to join together and go after one objective. I've talked about this before. I don't know if many of you people know about True Pundit, and he wrote his. I think it's a group of people, but the leader is a guy that he called himself Thomas Paine, and he's just revealed his real name, Michael Moore, not the director who made 9/11 and all those movies, those documentaries, supposed documentaries. But his name is apparently Michael Moore. And he was not, I guess, an FBI agent, but he was a contractor for them and other organizations, governmental organizations. And many years ago, apparently they went after him for various reasons. They tried to stick some criminal charges on him, nothing serious, but he was talking too much. He had too much information, and they actually raided his home twice, pointing their weapons. The FBI pointing their weapons at his wife and children. Oh, they're real brave. They're real brave. They remind me of gangsters. They're well, anyway. Like dogs, pack of wolves. Alone, they're chicken shits. And they come in together and they point weapons at women, just like they did with Manafort at 5 a.m. in the morning, right? Manafort didn't do anything to justify that. We're just out of control. Oh, we want to love our police forces and our law enforcement officers? Not until they start obeying the Constitution of the United States. I'm not saying to be violent against them, but Trump's got to realize that the criminal conduct in this country can be traced right back to the organizations that are supposed to be enforcing the Constitution. Because they don't. Yeah, I am upset this morning. I really am. So anyway, the point is that BuzzFeed came out with a very nasty article against Thomas Paine, Michael Moore, basically doxing him, saying some horrible things, twisting the information. And and I'm not going to mention who they are, but there's a supposed conservative organization out there that is a super PAC of some sort. And it said something, its leader here a little while ago said something, and I looked at it and I said, what the hell is he talking about? Why would he say this? He said that Paddock was the only shooter at the Las Vegas. That's why I brought this up a few minutes ago. That is a patently false statement. Just because the FBI and the LVMPD is changing a little bit now on it. But just because the FBI said that it was not a terrorist attack or that Paddock, just because they said that Paddock acted alone doesn't make it true. And this guy said that the FBI said Paddock was a lone shooter, and everybody who says that Paddock was not the only shooter, they're conspiracy theorists. I'm going to tell you something. The guy who said that, there's something wrong with him. There is something wrong with him. I'm disappointed. As I said the other day, I'm more disappointed, probably even more disappointed than angry, because I see this kind of thing going on where who would support the FBI in something like that, knowing everything else about it? Or do they not know anything about it? No, I think they do. And now I'm very suspicious that they're, and I'm sorry I'm not saying the name. I'm very suspicious that their motivations are not as they appear, not as they state they are. So these same people, then, remember BuzzFeed? BuzzFeed ran the dossier story. You remember that against Trump? Yeah, they may have retracted it to some extent, not entirely. But now this BuzzFeed, these same people that said this about Paddock and the Las Vegas shooting, are now saying that BuzzFeed's report on Michael Moore, also known as Thomas Paine of True Pundit, all this information about them, and they're trashing Michael Moore. I don't know Michael Moore. I've watched True Pundit. I follow him. He's done a lot of good stuff. Okay, he's made a few mistakes. Who hasn't? Analyzing things. But he understands, apparently, like me, he understands the danger of the FBI and the fact that it's a criminal enterprise. And so, just like they stood up for the FBI in Vegas, they now attack Michael Moore because he's attacking the FBI. Who is this guy on this conservative group? Whose side is he on? What's he really up to? Oh, he just wants to reveal the truth. He wants to get everybody on the same page. He wants to hold MAGA people's feet to the fire to make sure they do the right thing. Well, he's number one not doing the right thing. So I'm very suspicious of this group. I don't think they're MAGA at all, even though they call themselves that. Some of you will know who I'm talking about, some won't. I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed. I'm not going to name any other names. There are a few people I have respect for in that group because of some of the other things that they do. I've been warned about them by other conservatives, good folks, but I see good people in there, and I just hope that they They apply the proper standards to their conduct and to their analyses that apparently this leader of theirs does not. So anyway, my point is, good on True Pundit Thomas Paine. Also, it was actually his name is actually Michael Moore. He's gone public. He's written a book. He's going to expose everything that he knows. I hope to God they don't kill him. They're definitely going to try to taint his character again. That's what the when you see the government and these MSM people and all that going after to taint people's reputations, that should be your first warning that there's a problem, that you're not being told the truth. Even MAGA people jumping on the supporting BuzzFeed, using BuzzFeed as a source, saying, "Oh, they give the accurate story here." That's disgusting. God, I can see why the Trump people have nothing to do with this MAGA group. I can understand why they don't. And I don't want to point any fingers right now. Maybe someday I will. I'm hoping, I keep trying to give people a chance, and they keep stepping on their shit. God, what is wrong? Media Matters, Soros. I don't know where they get their funds or who's actually running the show with some of these places, but by their fruits you shall know them. That's the real simple way to figure it out. What they say and what they do. And I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like the fruits that I'm seeing. There's a problem. Okay, I'm off of that. Anything more I want to bring up here? I don't think so. I think that's it for today. Let's go to the chat. See if anybody... BuzzFeed is fake. I wouldn't say they're fake. They're like any other news organization. They twist the facts to their agenda. We saw it with the dossier. Okay? You like Roy when he gets angry. Well, it's not a good thing to do. I do raise my blood pressure. Like I said before, the Potter name is actually Viking. It's not English. It's not British. It's Viking. And I have Viking blood in me strong on both sides of my family. And so it comes out at certain times. Okay. Roy, you have seen the Enough is Enough card game. Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. Yes, I know. Yeah. I brought up I don't even want to talk about that today, but yeah, there's a YouTuber, a very strange one that I mentioned about a couple weeks back, a month ago or whatever, that actually wrote that down in Hebrew, the Didi. I was really surprised to see it. Yeah, some weird things here. And remember, Hebrew will be used by the Illuminati just as much as somebody who has respect for the language as a spiritual tool, because the devil uses that too. As I talked about on the Kev Baker show, the devil uses the dark side of things, and we're supposed to use the right side of things. But then, what is truth? Truth is good and evil. Our perceptions of good and evil are actually separate from truth. My son did a real good explanation of that the other day, and I'm hoping I can get that up. But at any rate, you've seen his stuff before. But he talked about that. What we think is good and what we think is evil. We need to step back and find out what the truth is and go after that. That's really what's important. Truck with Bundy for governor on it, surrounded by police here in North Las Vegas, Nevada. Tony, I know. They're scared to death of anybody who speaks the truth. I know that. Lombardo is a criminal. He's the sheriff there in Clark County. He is a criminal. I can't believe that he's going to be, if maybe he already was reelected. I'm not sure about that. Are they there to protect Ryan or his truck? Probably not. Probably not. Noahide law. Sandy, no. The Noahide covenants and laws are not really true. That is an interpolation by rabbis who wanted people to bend to the Jewish perception of life. They don't actually exist. Okay, they don't. They're an interpolation from the Torah, from Genesis, and they're not true. I'm sorry, they're not true. Okay, it's a way to justify the information in the Talmud. I hate to tell you that, but that's what it is, and maybe you already know that. Is LVMPD infiltrated by the LDS? Of course, which is why the Bundys ran into so much trouble. Yeah, because the LDS, as I said in a walk around video that I did a few weeks ago downtown Salt Lake, were involved with Obama and Reid to steal that property. They had a meeting about it. They were going to, and they've done it before. I talked about the cherry farmer. His name was Garnbaum back in the 70s. He had this cherry farm, and the LDS Church wanted it, and they basically stole it from him. And I covered it in my autobiography. I went and interviewed him. Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they do. Well, the LDS people, and it always goes this way. The rank and file are just trying to do the very best they can for the most part, but they are a cult. They think the president of the church speaks for God, and in fact, they'll tell you that if God tells you to do something, or the prophet, you better do what the prophet or the president tells you before you do what God tells you. So it's a real cult. It really, really is. I don't think it started out that way many, many years ago. I'm not going to go into the history of it, but it certainly is the case today. And it is a criminal cartel at the top. It absolutely is. At least it's a corporate empire that will serve its own interests and nobody else's, except the federal government. Okay. Yeah, Sandy Aaron, I don't know about that. Even if it was, the Constitution takes precedence. She's asking, was Noahide law signed into law in the 1991 by Pappy Bush? I'm sure it would not surprise me, okay? But it's null and void, okay? It's null and void because the Constitution takes precedence. We just have to have somebody that will enforce the Constitution. That would be as bad as Sharia law. Do you realize that? The Noahide covenant law, if it was instituted by these people like Bush, that's almost as bad, not quite, but almost as bad as Sharia law, which I totally disrespect. Actually, it's kind of funny because my understanding of certain things is probably very close to some of the concepts of Islam. The ones that were actually drawn from the Torah, which they were. But at any rate, some of them. But then they were bent for their particular agenda. But I don't want to get into those subjects today, but the bottom line is yes, that would be very bad if that were the case. But it's null and void by Marbury versus Madison, where the court said that any law that is enacted, be it by Congress or anybody else, that is a violation of the Constitution is null and void at its inception and does not have to be obeyed. Okay, well, how long have we been going? Almost an hour, and I didn't want to make this a long one today. What was that? Yeah. Oh, yeah, very, very good. Imus Nick Plur, I'm not sure what that. Chabad Lubavitch in eschatology is Israel trying to bring about the end times. Absolutely, yeah. They'll kill millions of people to bring the Messiah on, or billions of people. Yes, I know. Which is totally that's forcing God's hand. Do you understand what they're doing? They're counseling God. They're telling him that he needs to follow their time schedule. Do you realize how blasphemous that is? They're blasphemers. As a matter of fact, there's a scripture that says, don't counsel God to hurry up. They tell him that. I forget the scripture. But they're warned not to tell God to hurry up. That he will do his work in his own time, in his own way, and that. So they're really not good. Okay, I don't have a whole lot of respect for them. Some of the other Orthodox I do. Because I even heard David Seaman the other day. I think it was yesterday. I don't think he's Orthodox. There's several different branches. You have traditional, you have Reformed and Orthodox, those types of things. So they're different kind of systems in the Jewish faith. It's divided up very similar in some ways to Christianity. But I heard David Seaman say, he talked about Khazarian Jews, that not everybody who says they're Jew or have Jewish blood in them. And I was astounded that he would even talk like that. But but I appreciated it. And I'm not going to get into that subject matter. I'll plug my book here, The Crimson Thread, which is not a page burner, as I said before. But if you want to understand the difference between when Jesus even said, those who call themselves Jews and are not, go read that and you'll understand why there are some problems. Because I'm not going to get into it here. Not today. What's this? Okay, yeah. Mike, you're talking about the last names of people, the Cap's pagan name and all that. Look, don't get wound around the axle, okay? Different cultures do different things. It doesn't mean that they're pagan in the sense that you want to call them pagan, okay? I know what you're trying to say about taking these corporate last names and that, but that's not really, with the Caps and all that. I understand that. I don't use my last name with all caps at all. Maybe in like Twitter I have to because I'm trying to put it in a certain way. But see, that's where man tries to change times and laws and make silly ass things into something legal, and we have to reject that stuff and tell them that they can't do it. Realize the danger that's involved, but don't get ground around the axle about it. Okay, let's see if there's anything else here that we need to cover. Okay, well, I think we're done. Why don't we be done today? I think I've probably spilled enough beans, showed my displeasure, my hot displeasure. But, there's a time and a place. By their fruits you shall know them. And attacking other individuals, even if they're doing it because they're trying to make a living, that's okay. It's what their message is, okay, if they're trying to say the right thing. Deceit is entirely different than trying to make a living, okay? Or trying to protect your character from assassination. Okay? So I'm going to go. Have a great day. Matter of fact, I'm going to do some fun things today. It's about time. I need to unwind a little bit. So prep, pray, stay out of the way. Keep your situational awareness on high. God bless you. God bless the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America and the Second American Revolution. And God bless President Donald Trump, that the spirit of discernment may fall upon him as the dews from heaven, although I think we need a Niagara Falls at this point. And then he will know the right from the wrong and be able to choose and have the courage to do the right thing, because absolutely that needs to be done at this point, okay? Especially with what's coming. All right? Out here for now.
I am not afraid of you. You will not slow me down or stop me now. The hand of God won't be refused. Resist and rest assured, I'll bring you down. I'll make you wish you'd never been born. I'll make you wish you'd never been born. And all of this will turn to rest just as soon as the rain is dry. I'll be the last one standing up, and you will suffer for your foolish pride.